Tako, drago mi je danas što smo mogli i što možemo svi zajedno biti tu.
I'm glad that we're all able to be here together.
Ono što mi je posebno drago je što smo napokon dobili ljepše vreme.
And what I am most thankful for is that we finally got nice weather.
Tako, i znate šta? I vreme treba biti ljepše jer sutra je.
And the weather should be a lot nicer because tomorrow is.
Sutra je.
Tomorrow is.
8. mart. Evo, vi se slađa, bravo.
Thanks, Slađa.
Da. 8. mart, 8. ožujak koji je Međunarodni dan žena.
And that is the International Women's Day.
Tako je. Neki dan smo malo pričali na poslu o danu žena.
The other day I was talking with my colleagues at work about International Women's Day.
I sad moj šef je Ukrajinac i on mene zafrkao i kaže, kako ćeš ti provesti dan žena?
And my boss is Ukrainian and he asked me, so how are you going to spend International Women's Day?
Ja, on kao ja dolazi iz komunističke zemlje gdje je to bilo velika stvar.
Because him, like me, came from a communist country where that was a really, really big thing.
I ja kažem, pa ne znam, okrene se kolega koji je ovdje sjedio pored mene, koji je Kanađanin.
And I was like, I'm not sure. And I turned around to my colleague next to me who's Canadian.
I kaže on, pa nije to neki dan, šta je to?
And he says, that's nothing important, what is that?
A moj šef se okrene.
And my boss turns around to look at him.
Kaže, Violeta.
And says, Violeta.
Jel mi moramo, kaže, educirati ovog neznabošca.
Do we have to educate this heathen?
Ono što je meni bilo zanimljivo, dva različita čovjeka ili dvije različite perspektive na taj jedan dan.
So what was interesting to me is that there were two different opinions, two different perspectives on this one day.
Ono što se ja sjećam kod dijete, da smo nosili karanfile učiteljicama, da su se žene oblačile u prekrasne duge haljine proljetne.
And what I remember from my youth is that you would give roses, carnations to teachers. Women would dress up in their most beautiful dresses.
I bio je to neki poseban dan.
And it was seen as a very special day.
Evo, Marija potvrđuje, jel da Marija? Ono što je isto tako bilo zanimljivo meni, da obično su šefovi morali skratiti radni dan.
And what was also very interesting to me is that bosses would have to shorten the work
day. Da bi se mogli ići na ručak.
So that you could go for lunch or for dinner.
Ono što je meni jedno od najljepših uspomena u vezi Međunarodnog dana žena,
and for me, one of my favorite memories about Women's Day
je da se svaka žena
is that every woman
osjećala viđena,
felt seen,
i cijenjena.
And valued.
I upravo o tome
and loved.
I loved, da, i voljena. Upravo o tome, o vrijednosti i o tome kako vidimo jedni druge kao ljudska bića ćemo pričati ovo jutro.
And that relates to our topic where we're going to be exploring how the value of each human being is explored.
I o tome danas. Evo da vam počnem s jednom pričom, s jednom osobom koja me jako dojmila.
And let's start with a story about a person that touched me significantly.
Naime, počela sam prije 3 mjeseca raditi u novoj firmi.
So 3 months ago I started to work at a new company.
I tamo sam zatekla jednu divnu osobu, ajde da kažemo se zove Marija.
And there I met a new person, let's just call her Maria.
Ona nije bila nikakva direktorica, nije imala nikakvu važnu ulogu.
She wasn't in any sort of positions of leadership or didn't have a very big role.
Ali bila je jako zanimljiva osoba.
But she was a very interesting person.
Bila je, kako bih ja rekla, obično neobična žena.
She was, how would I say it, a typical, untypical woman.
Bravo, Tina. I ono što je bilo meni jako zanimljivo, da su svi k njoj gravitirali.
And what was very interesting is that everyone always gravitated towards her.
Nekako su, mlađi kad su trebali, ona je bila u svojim kasnim 50-ima, mlađi kad su trebali neki savjet, išli su k njoj.
Even young adults, because she was a bit older, she was in her late 50s, they would come to her and ask for advice.
Stariji kad bi imali probleme još od nje, išli su k njoj.
Even people older than her went and asked her for advice.
Da. A kad bi neko imao dijete koje je bolesno, ona bi nazvala i rekla, kako tvoje dijete, šta se događa?
If someone had a kid that was sick, she would call them and be like, hey, how's your kid, how's it going?
Nemojte me krivo shvatiti, u biznisu ona je bila žena aždaja. Ajkula.
But don't get me wrong. She was a very ruthless woman when it came to business. A real shark.
Ona nije bila sentimentalna niti za svaki dolar se pazio.
She wasn't emotional or sentimental. She paid attention to every dollar that was spent.
Ali svi tim ljudima s kojima je imala kontakt,
But to all the people with whom she had contact with,
njih je tretirala kao osobu.
she treated them as people,
Bez obzira je radila biznis s njima ili ne.
regardless if she did business with them or not.
I razbolila se od leukemije.
And she got sick with leukemia.
I čak dok je bila u bolnici, to zvala je, pitala je kako je, zvala je svoje prijatelje i ljude na poslu.
And even when she was in the hospital to get treatment, she still called her colleagues, her friends, and kept in touch with people.
I ono što je mene posebno dirnulo u srce
And what really touched me all the way to my heart
je jedanput kada je prije Božića je poslije kemoterapije došla u ured.
is that once before Christmas, after her chemotherapy treatment, she came into the office.
Imala je masku i mi smo svi stajali 5 metara od nje.
She had a mask. We also stayed 5 meters away from her.
Ali ona je došla da nam čestita sretan Božić
But she came to wish us Merry Christmas
i da meni izrazi dobrodošlicu.
and to welcome me because this was my first time at the front.
Iako njoj ja nisam ništa.
Even though I was nothing to
Ja.
her.
I to je mene jako dirnulo.
And that really touched me.
Ona je preminula prije nekoliko tjedana.
She died a couple weeks ago.
Nije bila kršćanka,
She wasn't a Christian,
ali svojim životom je pokazala da je svaka osoba vredna njezine pažnje.
but she showed these Christian values that every person was worth her time and was valued.
Gledala sam te ljude na njezinom sprovodu.
I looked at the people at her funeral.
Ljudi svih boja kože, nacionalnosti,
People of all different nationalities, skin color.
ljudi s kojima je radila,
People with whom she worked with. Friends,
direktori kompanije,
bosses from the company.
čak i ljudi s kojima se nije slagala, došli su da je isprate.
Even people that she didn't necessarily agree with, they came to her funeral.
Ja sam se pitala, pa zašto, u čemu je njezina tajna?
And I asked myself, why? What was her secret?
I onda sam razumjela da je tajna nije u nekim velikim gestama.
And then I understood that the secret is not in any kind of big gestures.
Tajna je bila u tome da je vidjela svakog čovjeka,
Rather, her secret lied in the fact that she saw every single person.
I da je vidjela da svaka osoba koja stoji pred njom ima važnost. I da svaka osoba
And that every person was worth her time.
Tako, bravo. Ti nam možeš sljedeći slajd?
I don't have clicker.
So, pročitala sam jedanput ovu misao i mislim da je izuzetno lijepa misao. Henry Newman je bio poznati duhovni pisac i on je rekao, najveći dar koji možeš dati drugoj osobi je tvoja puna prisutnost. Ne savjet, ne rješenje, prisutnost.
A quote that really touched me was given by a Dutch priest, theologian, and writer, Henry Newman. He said, "The greatest gift you can ever give another person is your own presence. Not advice, not solutions, your presence."
Marija to nije čitala u knjizi i za nju to nije bila samo teorija, to je bio život.
For Maria, it wasn't just something that she read in a book, and it wasn't some kind of theory, but it was her life and the way that she lived her life.
I u svakom trenutku, kad je ona bila puno prisutna, u tom trenutku su počeli valovi, u malim gestama pažnje.
And in every way, you say one more time.
U svakom trenutku pune prisutnosti.
And in every situation, she was fully present.
I u tom trenutku su se pokazali valovi pažnje.
Oh, and in
Su
those,
počimali valovi
and in
pažnje.
those instances, that's when these waves of attention were shown.
So now, ajde da vam ispričam drugu priču.
Now let me tell you another story.
Isus je bio priču puno priča, pa eto tako i ja.
Jesus was a man of many stories, so am I.
Master storyteller, kao što bi Slađa rekla. Uglavnom, druga priča je malo zanimljiva. Kad radimo svi u uredu gdje sad radim, lijepo je vidjeti da se ljudi druže, da su prijatelji, postoji tu jedna toplina.
So in the office that I'm working in, one thing that's really important is that everyone's paying attention to each other. There's a sense of warmth and community.
No, radila sam u jednoj drugoj firmi
But I worked in another firm before this one,
gdje je sasvim bila drugačija kultura.
where the culture was completely different.
Uđete u ured,
You go inside the office.
ured je prekrasan,
The office is beautiful.
zgrada je nova,
The building is new.
namještaj je moderan, slik, novi.
The entire interior is sleek and modern.
Podovi su prekrasni bijeli mramor.
The floor is made of a nice white marble.
A atmosfera u toj firmi bila je kao i taj mramor.
But the atmosphere in that office was like that marble.
Hladna.
Cold.
Hladna bez duše.
Cold without any kind of soul.
Yeah. Hladna bez duše. Uđete unutra, si samo,
You walk inside, everyone's typing away.
niko ne gleda nikoga.
No one looks at anyone.
Ja sam se pitala, pa kako je to moguće?
And I was wondering, how is this even
Kad
possible?
radiš s nekim 4-5 godina, neminovno je da se ljudi na neki način povežu.
Yeah, when you work with someone for 4 or 5 years, it's normal that the colleagues get to know each
Malo
other.
počneš malo o djeci, malo o hrani, malo o godišnjem. Neko se i potuži na muža, ja nikada.
You talk about your kids, your job, food. Some people even complain about their husbands, which I haven't done.
Exactly. ali tamo ne.
But there, no.
Svako za sebe,
Everyone's by
svako za
themselves.
svojim stolom.
Everyone's at their own
Nikoga nije
desks.
briga za nikoga,
No one cares about anyone else,
što je jako tužno.
which is really sad.
Sjećam se jednog dana kad je jedan moj kolega dao otkaz.
I remember one day when one of my colleagues quit,
Neko je rekao,
someone said,
ma nek ide. Na kraju krajeva svi su zamjenjivi. Jednom kad neko ode iz ove kompanije, mrtav mi je.
well, let him go. Everyone here is replaceable. If someone leaves this company, they're dead to me.
I on se stvarno toga držao.
And he really, really believed that.
Kad je neko otišao,
When someone left the company,
više nije bilo nikakvog kontakta.
there was absolutely no contact
Ni
with them
Sretan
anymore.
Božić, ni Sretan Nova
Not
godina.
Merry Christmas, not Happy New
Apsolutno
Year.
ništa.
Absolutely nothing.
Što je po mojem mišljenju jako tužno.
Which in my opinion is very sad.
Pa i sada malo razmislimo o tome izrazu mrtav si mi.
Now let's think a bit more about that sentence or saying, you're dead to me.
Mrtav si mi. Ja se sjećam kako je neko pričao i rekao, moja kćer se udala za onoga, mrtva mi je.
I remember someone once told me, my daughter married this man, she's dead to me.
Mrtav si mi?
You're dead to me?
Kako može ljudsko biće biti mrtvo drugome?
How can a human person be dead to someone else?
Ljudsko biće bude mrtvo drugome?
A human being to be dead to someone?
Zanimljivo.
Very, very interesting.
Ne dijelim ja ovo kako bi ja osudila te ljude,
I'm not sharing this in order to judge these people.
nego dijelim ovo da s vama podijelim da ove riječi otkrivaju nešto mnogo dublje.
But rather, I'm sharing this with you in order to let you know that these words actually have a deeper meaning.
Da pokazuje šta si je danas vrednuje.
It shows what you are to me.
Evo da malo uđem u svijet ovih mladih ljudi.
Let me now enter the world of the young people.
Danas mladi ljudi misle da se njihova vrednost mjeri TikTok pregledima.
Young people nowadays think that their worth and value come from TikTok views,
Instagram prijateljima,
Instagram followers.
Facebook lajkovima.
Not really, but Facebook likes.
Ok, to je onda za moju ovoga
Never mind,
generaciju.
that's for my generation, her generation.
O, hvala ti. Izgradili smo čitavu kulturu oko ideje da se vrednost može izmjeriti i javno prikazati.
We built a whole culture about, based on the idea that value can be measured and shown.
Ja nemam nijednu društvenu mrežu,
I don't have any social media,
pa čak ni Facebook,
not even Facebook.
ali čak se ja sama uhvatim sa vremena na vreme kako razmišljam o tome.
But even I catch myself thinking about this phenomenon from time to time.
Počinam se vrednovat po onome što vidim na televiziji, na poslu.
I start to
svuda.
value myself based on what I see on TV or at work.
Meni se čini da je svijet svako ljudsko biće pretvorio u broj.
It seems like the world has turned every human being into a number.
I kad vaši brojevi padnu,
And when your numbers fall,
nisi više mlad, padaš.
oh, your value is measured by a number. So when you're not young, that number drops.
Više nemaš dobar posao, ne praviš toliko novaca.
You don't have a good job, you don't make that much money, number drops.
Sad si se razbolio, nisi više vredan toliko.
Now you're sick, you're worth a bit less.
I dalje tvoja vrednost pada.
And so on and so on, so on, your value drops.
Često puta mi kažemo, to je problem modernog svijeta.
Often we say that this is an issue of
taj
the modern
internet.
world. That internet.
Taj TikTok i
That
Facebook.
TikTok and Instagram.
Ali želio bih s vama podijeliti citat od Frankl.
But I would like to share
Viktora
a quote by Viktor Frankl.
Ti na sljedeći slajd.
Yeah, a psychiatrist.
Tako je. A on je bio austrijski psihijatar, porijeklom židovskog porijekla, koji je preživio nacističke logore.
He was an Austrian psychiatrist who had Jewish heritage, and he survived the Holocaust.
Uzmite u obzir da je ovo napisano 1946. Prije 79 godina.
Keep this in mind that this was written in 1946, a little bit more than 75 years ago.
79
years ago.
Okay. On je, znači, uzmite isto tako u obzir da on ne sjedi u fotelji i ne piše ovo.
And also keep in mind that he's not sitting in an office or in a chair and writing this.
On gdje god da je bio, to piše iz dubine svoje duše, a ovdje ili ovdje su mu brojevi iz kampa.
He's writing this from the depths in the bottom of his soul with arms from the Holocaust tattooed on his arms.
Na polaktici, Vlada? Na polaktici.
I think it was here.
Ja?
Yeah,
I njega su baš pretvorili u broj. Jer vi znate, svaki zatvorenik nije imao ime u Auschwitzu, nego je bio broj.
Yeah, Viktor Frankl himself was literally transformed into a number because in these concentration camps you were just known by your number, not by your name.
I on kaže, današnje društvo obožava ljude koji su uspješni i sretni.
Today's society worships people who are successful and happy.
Praktički ignorira vrijednost svih ostalih.
It practically ignores the worth of all others.
Time zamagljujući odlučujuću razliku između biti vrijedan u smislu dostojanstva i biti vrijedan u smislu koristi.
Thereby obscuring the decisive difference between being valuable in the sense of dignity and being valuable in the sense of useful.
Ajde malo razmislimo šta je on tu rekao.
Now let's go a bit deeper and see what exactly is he saying.
Dvije vrste korisnosti.
There are
dvije vrste vrijednosti.
Two types of values, two types of uses.
Prvo je korisnost.
Firstly, it's usefulness.
Koliko si produktivan,
How productive you
popularan,
are, popular,
isplativ.
Worth.
A druga je dostojanstvo.
And the second is dignity.
Da. Vrijednost samo zato što postojiš.
You are valuable just because you exist.
Ideja da je tvoja vrijednost ugrađena u tebe samim činom stvaranja, to nije moderna psihologija.
This idea that you are valuable just because of who you are is not a phenomenon of modern psychology.
To je biblijska ideja i nije apstraktna teologija.
It is a biblical idea, not some kind of abstract theology.
Ona ima lice, ima priču, ima
It
ime.
has a face, a story, and a name.
Šta nam Biblija o tome govori?
What does the Bible tell us about this?
Ajde da zajedno otvorimo Psalam 139, 13 i 14 redak.
Together let's open Psalms 139, verses 13 to 14.
Moj najdraži psalam.
My favorite psalm.
I David piše, ti si stvorio moje unutrašnjosti, satkao si me u majčinoj utrobi. Hvala ti jer sam zadivljujuće i divno načinjen. Divna su djela tvoja i duša moja to dobro zna.
For you have created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well.
David kad je pisao to i kad čita psalam, imate osjećaj, piše s toliko čuđenja, kao malo dijete.
David, when he writes this in his Psalms, you have this sense that he's writing with the awe of a child.
Kad smo bili prošle godine na kampiranju,
When we went to camping last year,
ja i Branko smo otišli na plažu negdje predvečer.
me and Branko went to the beach sometime in the evening.
Spustila se noć
Night started.
i onako mi tu sjedimo, valovi se čuju, vide.
And we're sitting on the beach and we see the waves.
I gore milioni malih svjetala.
And we look up in the sky and we see millions of little lights.
Jedna za drugom zvijezda.
One after another, they're stars.
Onda došao ranger pa nas poterao.
And then Benjamin came and asked for us. ranger.
Nije Benjamin Ranger, Benjamin.
Ranger king.
Ali milioni tih malih svjetala.
There were thousands and millions of those kinds of stars.
Prekrasno.
It was beautiful.
I čak i ja, koja sam već starija osoba,
And even I, who am a bit of an older
gledam u
age,
to i mislim si, wow.
I look at this and I'm like, wow.
Stvoritelj svijeta da zna tko sam ja.
The creator of the universe to know who I am.
Stvoritelj svijeta da me satka u majčinoj utrobi.
The creator of the universe who knit me in my mother's womb.
Hebrejska riječ koja se ovdje koristi je kilija ili bubrezi.
The Hebrew word that is used in this case is hibria or
Kilija ili bubrezi.
or bubrezi.
Kidneys.
Kidneys.
Dakle. Ali u hebrejskoj kulturi bubrezi nisu bili organ.
But in Hebrew culture, kidneys were not considered to be an organ.
Bili su sjedište najdubljih emocija i najskrovitijih misli.
They were this is where our most innermost thoughts and feelings were found.
Ja bi nekako mislila da bi to bilo nešto u stilu dubina duše.
I would think that this is something like or where the soul was believed to be found in.
Ono što ja mislim da David kaže, Bog je stvorio onaj dio mene koji niko drugi ne vidi.
What I think David is saying is that God created a part of me that no one else could see.
Znači, Bog nas nije stvorio onako na traci kao auta što se rade.
God didn't create us in this automatic sense, like in a factory where cars are made.
Serijski, nego svakoga od vas u utrobi majke je nit po nit tkio, nit po nit pravio.
But each and every one of us was knit carefully and slowly and intentionally in our mother's wombs.
Wow.
Wow.
Zamislite i opet da se obratim na ovu mlađu generaciju.
And once again, I will talk about the younger generation.
TikTok te tretira kao jednog od milijuna korisnika.
TikTok treats you like one out of millions of users.
Bog te tkao kao nešto što postoji samo jednom.
But God looks at you as someone that exists just as one.
I onda David kaže,
And then David says,
hvala ti jer sam zadivljujuće i divno načinjen.
thank you because I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made.
Hrabra rečenica.
It's a very brave thing to say.
Ali ono što on želi istaći,
But what he really wants to point out here
kaže hvala ti,
is thank you.
ne zato što sam koristan,
Not because I'm useful,
ne zato što sam pametan,
not because I'm smart,
ne zato što sam kralj,
not because I'm the king,
ne zato što imam što god hoću,
not because I can have everything that I want,
nego hvala ti što sam zadivljujuće i divno načinjen, točka.
but thank you for making me fearfully and wonderful made, full stop.
Rekao je, i ja to znam, duboko u mojoj duši.
He said, and I acknowledge this deep within my soul.
I cijeli psalam nas poziva, vratite se tome znanju.
And the entire psalm brings us back to this idea.
Nemoj slušati te algoritme koje neko programira.
Don't listen to these algorithms that someone just programmed.
Slušaj ono što tvoja duša unutra već zna i osjeća.
Remember what your soul knows and feels.
A možda neko od vas kaže, ma sve je to lijepo, ali ja sam toliko puta bio tretiran ili tretirana kao broj. Ja sama ili sam vjerujem da sam samo broj.
But maybe someone says, yes, this is a nice idea, but I've been treated like a number and I really do see myself only as that.
Za tebe, prijatelju, prijateljice moja, Isus je ispričao ovu priču.
Well, for you, my dear friend, Jesus shared this story.
Sljedeći slajd. Isus kaže,
Jesus says,
i možemo otvoriti zajedno Luku 15. glavu.
and we can open up Luke 15 if you have
I
your
vi znate
Bibles.
tu priču.
You know
Isus
this
kaže,
story.
koji među vama ako ima i 100 ovaca izgubi jednu, ne ostavi 99 i ne može tražiti izgubljenu dok je ne nađe.
Which of you, having 100 sheep, if he has lost one of them, does not leave the 99 in the open country and go after the one that is lost till he finds it?
Hajde sam malo da vidimo u čemu je dublja poruka ove priče.
Let's look a bit more to see what the deeper meaning is in this story.
Znači, kome Isus priča priču?
So
I pogledajte,
So to whom is Jesus talking the story?
Pogledajte stih 1. i 2. Svi carinici i grešnici su se približavali njemu.
Let's look at the first two verses of the story. The Pharisees and the sinners came and approached him.
I kaže, ovaj prima griješnike, jede s njima.
And he says he still eats with sinners.
Tako. A Isus u svome nonšalantnom stilu kaže, ej, daj da vam ispričam priču.
And Jesus, in a very nonchalant kind of way, says, let me tell you the story why I eat with sinners.
A oni, još nisu ni znali, a on ih je već ubacio u priču. I kaže, izgubila se ovca.
And them, without knowing, Jesus already put them in the story and started and said a sheep was lost.
I počima, koji čovjek među vama? Ako se izgubi, jedna ovca ne ide i ne traži.
And he starts saying, which among you, if they have lost a sheep, doesn't go out and try to find it?
Sad, ajde malo razmislimo o tome. Kakva je to ekonomija? Imaš 99 ovaca.
Now let's see, what's the logic behind it? So you have 99 sheep.
I ti sad ostavljaš tih 99 i odlaziš da tražiš onu jednu.
You leave the 99 sheep by themselves just to go find one.
I zapazite ovo što ja nisam prije vidjela. Ostavlja ih u pustinji.
And keep this in mind, I never noticed this before, but he leaves the rest of the sheep in the field.
U pustinji, in the desert.
In the desert.
Yeah. Na opasnom mjestu da bi tražio tu jednu.
In a dangerous place just that he could find that one.
Tražio dok je ne nađe.
He looked and looked until he found it.
Ja bi mu rekla, čovječe, pa razmisli malo.
I would tell him, think a little bit.
Šta je s tobom?
What's up with you?
Ko šljivi tu jednu ovoga
Who cares about that one?
glupu ovcu janje? Imaš ovih 99.
Here you have 99.
Ali on traži.
But he goes and he looks.
Dok ju ne nađe.
Until he finds it.
I kad je nađe,
and when he finds it,
ne uzme ovcu i kaže, mrš tamo glupa ovca, proveo sam 3 dana da te nađem.
He doesn't say to the sheep, go away, I wasted 3 days looking for you.
Ne tera ispred sebe.
He doesn't push it against.
Kad ju nađe, stavi ju na ramena.
When he finds, he puts the sheep on his shoulders.
I nosi je u stada.
And carries it back to the desert.
I kada dođe
and when he
nazad,
comes back,
vidi svoje susjede.
He sees his neighbors.
I kaže, hej, pa našao sam svoju ovcu, ajde da se zajedno radujemo.
And he says, hey, I found my sheep again, let's go celebrate.
To je slika milosti našeg Boga.
That is a picture of grace by
Nije,
God.
ti si napravio problem, sad nađi svoj put sam.
It's not, no, you created a problem, try to figure out your own way.
Nego ja ću te nositi.
But rather I will carry you.
Baš kao što je pastor krenuo u pustinju za izgubljenom ovcom.
Just like the shepherd left his sheep in the desert, just look for this one sheep.
Tako je Marija u našem uredu išla tiho za onima koje nitko nije pitao kako su.
That's exactly what Maria from my office did. She went and made sure that every person was learned and wanted to get to know each individual.
Bog tebe traži.
God is looking for you.
Ne zato što si koristan.
Not because you're useful.
Uspješan.
Or successful.
Profitabilan.
Or profitable.
Nego zato što si njegov.
But because you are his.
I onda dolazi srce ove propovjedi. Dolazi srce ove propovjedi.
And now we get to the heart of the sermon.
Križ.
The cross.
I onda dolazi križ.
And then the cross comes.
I sve ostalo utihne.
And everything else stays silent.
Bog koji je stvorio svemir.
God who created the universe.
Koji je svakoga od vas, i tebe, i tebe, i tebe, i tebe, i tebe, tkao u majčinoj utrobi, nit po nit.
Every single individual, and you, and you, and you, and you, and knit inside his womb.
Mogao je spasiti čovečanstvo na 1000 načina.
He could have saved humanity in millions of ways.
Ali nije odabrao ni anđele, ni zakone na nebu. Ali nije odabrao. He didn't choose
but
angels.
He didn't choose angels or
laws
anything else or laws to save us.
Odabrao je tijelo.
He chose the body.
Odabrao je lice.
He chose the face.
Odabrao je ime.
He chose a name.
I to lice je gledalo ljude u oči.
And that face looked at people in
to
the
lice,
eyes.
te ruke su dotakle gubavca kojeg niko nije htio dirati.
That face and those hands touched leopards that no one else wanted to touch.
Primijetilo je ženu koja plače u gomili.
That face noticed a woman that was crying.
Pozvao je k sebi djecu kad su ih učenici htjeli otjerati.
That face called children towards him when his disciples wanted to get rid of them.
Isus je kroz svoj zemaljski život
Jesus, through his life here on earth,
živio ono što sam ja vidjela da je Marija živjela u uredu.
lived in a way that I saw that my colleague Maria lived in the office.
Svaka osoba pred Isusom bila je cijela osoba.
Every person that Jesus met was seen as a whole person.
Ne transakcija,
Not some kind of transaction.
ne broj.
Not a number.
Da bismo razumjeli šta se na križu dogodilo, moramo razumjeti problem.
For us to understand what truly happened at the cross, we need to understand the problem.
Iako o ovome razmišljam otkad skoro sam bila tinejdžer, još uvijek potpuno ne mogu razumjeti šta se dogodilo na križu.
This is something I've been thinking about a long time since I was a teenager, but I can't fully understand exactly what happened at the
Ali ovo
cross.
je kako ja razumijem.
But this is my interpretation of it.
Svaki čovjek koji ikad živio ili živi,
Every person that has ever lived and that will live,
ja, vi, Marija, ona osoba koja je rekla mrtav mi je,
you, me, Maria, even that person that said, you're dead to me.
svi smo mi na neki način odvojeni od Boga.
All of us in some way, shape, or form are removed and separated from God.
I izabrali smo vlastiti put.
And we chose a different path, a path without
Biblija
Him.
to zove grijeh.
The Bible calls this sin.
Grijeh nije samo neki loš postupak, to je stanje u kojem se nalazimo.
Sin is not just some kind of lost, some kind of wrong action, but it's rather a state that we are in.
Kako ja to razumijem, to je kao kad uberete cvijet
The way that I understood it, it's kind of like when you're plucking a flower.
i on izgleda prekrasno prvi dan
It looks beautiful the first day,
i onda polako vene.
and it slowly dies.
Odvojen je od izvora života.
It's separated from its source of life.
Plaća grijeha je smrt.
The wages of sin is death.
Možeš ti na sljedeći slajd. I tu je Bog na kraju krajeva mogao reći, odabrali ste, živite sa posljedicama.
And that's exactly what God could have said to us. You chose this, live with the consequences.
Ali nije.
But He didn't.
Odlučio je da uđe u našu priču.
He decided to enter into our story,
Stavi na naše mjesto.
to stand in our place.
Uzeo je na sebe sve ono što smo mi zaslužili.
He took upon Himself everything that we should have taken. Paul,
u drugim Korinčanima kaže,
in 2 Corinthians says,
njega koji nije znao za grijeh, Bog je za nas učinio grijehom da bismo mi po njemu postali Božja pravednost.
God made Him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in Him we might become the righteousness of God.
On je uzeo naše
He took our sin
da bi nam dao svoje.
so that He could give us Himself.
Uzeo je našu odvojenost
He took our separation
da bismo mi imali ponovo zajednicu s Bogom.
so that we could once again have some kind of relationship with
Uzeo je
God.
našu smrt
He took our death
da bi nam dao život.
so that we may get life.
I nije ostao u grobu.
And He didn't stay in the tomb.
Treći dan je ustao.
The third day He resurrected
Kao dokaz da smrt nije posljednja riječ.
in order to show that death is not the final say,
Da je dug plaćen zauvijek.
that this debt has been paid for forever.
Jedan od mojih najdražih pisaca je C.S. Lewis.
One of my favorite writers is C.S. Lewis,
I on kaže,
and he says,
Isus nije umro za ljude kao masu, nego za svakog čovjeka. Da je svaki čovjek bio jedini čovjek, umro bi za njega.
He died not for men, but for each man. If each man had been the only man made, he would have done no less.
Isus je umro za svakog čovjeka.
Jesus died for every single person.
Hajde crkvo da vidim koliko dobro znate vaše stihove. Ivan 3:16. Jer Bogu
Let's see, church, if you know John 3:16.
Tina.
For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish but have everlasting life.
Svaki čovjek je Božje dijete.
Every person is a child of God.
I onaj koji vas je povrijedio,
Even those that have hurt you,
i onaj koji prosi na ulici,
and the person that is
i
begging on
onaj
the
koji je u
streets,
zatvoru,
and that person that's in prison,
i predsjednik ove države,
and the president of this, or prime minister of this country,
i naš pastor.
and our pastor.
Svaki čovjek je Božje dijete.
Every person is a child of God.
Neka mu djeca mogu biti bliža,
Some of His children might be a bit closer to Him,
neka možda dalja,
some a bit further away,
neka ga znaju bolje,
some know Him better,
neka ga znaju ne tako dobro,
some know Him a bit less,
ali svaki čovjek je dijete Božje.
but every single human being is a child of
Bog je
God.
za tebe, mene, svakog čovjeka platio najveću cijenu.
God, for me, for you, for every single person, paid the ultimate price.
I to je tvoja cijena.
And that is your price.
Tvoja cijena nije broj lajkova.
Your price or your value is not the number of likes that you have,
Koliko pratioca imaš.
how many followers you
Koliko
have,
novaca zarađuješ.
how much money you
Kako
earn,
izgledaš.
how you look,
Koliko si slavan, slavna.
how much you're praised, or how famous you are.
How famous ja. Nego ti si vredan onoliko koliko je Bog platio za tebe.
But rather you're worth the amount that God has paid for you.
I ne samo to, čak i sam Pavao kaže.
And not only that, but Paul himself says,
Primili ste duha posinstva kojim vičemo Aba, Oče. Okay. Primili ste duha posinstva kojim vičemo Aba, Oče. And we were given a gift of being sons and daughters of God, and we are saying Abba, Father.
Okay.
Ne formalno oče,
Not formally father,
nego tata.
but rather dad.
Ajde sad da malo razmislimo o tome kontrastu.
Now let's look at the context a bit further.
Svijet kaže, ako si koristan, isplativ,
The world says if you are useful,
isplativ, if you make profit,
if you make profitable,
yeah. You are worth something.
you're worth something.
Tako je. Nešto od tebe dobivam i ti vrediš nešto.
I get something from you, and that's how you get your worth or your value.
Svijet kaže, jednom kad odeš, mrtav si mi.
The world says once you leave me, you're dead to me.
Križ kaže, ja sam umro za tebe.
The cross says I died for you.
Nisi zamjenjiv.
You are irreplaceable.
Nisi broj.
You are not a number.
Ja sam umro za tebe.
I died for you.
To je Božji odgovor za svaku laž koja vam je ikad rekla da niste dovoljni.
And that is God's response to every single lie that you've been told that says that you're not
To je
enough.
odgovor za svaki glas u vašem umu koji kaže nisi dovoljno dobar.
And that is the answer to every single voice that says deep in with your soul, you're not worth enough.
I kad vjerujete da ste Božje dijete,
When you believe that you're a child of God,
počinjete druge gledati kao Božju djecu.
you start to look at others as children of
I
God.
tada se sve mijenja.
And then everything changes.
Taj kontrast između svijeta koji mjeri i Boga koji voli.
That huge contrast between the world that measures and the God that loves
Promijenio je potpuno kako ja vidim svoj život.
changes extensively how I view my own life.
Nalazim se u sredini svog života.
I am found in the middle of my
I kad
life.
se nađeš u tom trenutku,
When you're found in this middle,
ne gledaš više šta je iza, manje više gledaš koliko još imam napred.
you don't look anymore at the past, but you're like, how much more do I have left?
Yeah. Bog mi je kroz život ove žene Marije pokazao nešto jednostavno i duboko.
Through my colleague Maria, God showed me something very simple yet very profound.
Dobro proveden život ne mjeri se godinama.
Well spent life is not measured in terms of how many years you've lived.
Ne mjeri se popularnosti.
Not based on how popular you are,
Ne mjeri se s novcem.
nor how much money you make.
Mjeri se utjecajem.
It's measured based on your influence that you
Mjeri se
have.
valovima.
It's measured in waves.
A valovi zahtijevaju namjeru.
And waves lead to intention.
Being intentional. Zahtijeva da budete prisutni
It requires you to be present
i da se pojavljujete za ljude pred vama.
and that you are there for people in front of you.
Ali zašto?
But why?
Zašto bi to radili?
Why would I even do that?
Kao što sam rekla, križ mijenja sve.
Just as I said before, the cross changes everything.
Prvo, svaka osoba koja stoji ispred vas je stvorena od Boga.
Firstly, every single person that you encounter and that stands in front of you is created by God,
Voljena od Boga
loved by God,
i otkupljena od Boga.
and valued by God.
Stvorena,
They're created,
voljena
loved,
i otkupljena.
and redeemed.
To je vrijednost svake osobe koja stoji pred vama.
And that is the value of every single person that stands in front of you.
Ovo je veliki izazov, pogotovo za nekoga koji je dosta jak introvert.
And this is a very big challenge for someone, especially like me, who's a bit of an introvert.
Ja nisam okrenuta prema ljudima.
I'm not that open towards other people.
Ja volim biti sama
I like to be by myself.
i nikad nisam usamljena kad sam sama.
And I'm never lonely when I'm by myself.
Yeah. Good for you, kaže Vlada.
Good for you.
I znam da nisam savršena.
And I know that I'm not perfect.
I onim trenucima kad to najjasnije vidim,
And in those moments when I see this most clearly,
onda se sjetim križa.
then I remember the cross.
Jer znam da križ nije nagrada za savršene.
Because I know that the cross does not require me to be perfect.
Križ je dokaz da vrede i nesavršeni.
The cross is proof that even those that are unperfect
Da
are
vredim
valued.
ja,
That I value.
da vrediš ti,
That you are
i
valued.
ti, i ti.
And each and every one of
Da
you.
vredi svaka osoba koja hodi po ovoj zemlji.
That every single person that walks on this earth is valued.
I taj sin, Božji sin, se popeo na križ.
And that Son of God went by himself on the cross.
I tamo raskriženih ruku rekao je svakoj duši koja ikad živjela i živjet će.
And there he said that every single soul that has lived and will live.
Možeš ti na sljedeći slajd.
Mhm.
I kaže, toliko vrijediš, toliko, ništa manje.
You're worth that much, nothing less.
Ovaj kamen, ima jedan mali kamen,
This rock I have in front of me,
on na neki način simbolizira život svake osobe.
it in some way represents the life of every single person.
Možete ga ovako čvrsto stisnuti
You can take it and you can squeeze it very, very
i
hard
držati ga u svome džepu.
and hold it in your pocket.
Ili ga možete baciti
Or you can just throw it
u nečiju bol,
in some kind of bowl.
u nečiju bol in somebody's pain.
Aha, to cause pain.
No. Možete ga baciti, možete imati utjecaj takav da bi
Aha, you
nekome
can
olakšali
have, okay,
bol.
you can have an effect to help someone get through their pain,
U nečiju usamljenost,
in someone's loneliness,
u potrebe osobe koje niko ne vidi.
and to help a person in ways that you don't even notice.
Ovaj kamen simbolizira 2 minute koje odvojite da nekoga saslušate.
This rock represents 2 minutes that you give to someone to listen to them.
To je poziv možda nekome ko je bolestan.
This might be a call to someone that is sick.
To je možda poziv da vidite kako nekom ide u školi.
Maybe it's a call to ask someone how they're doing at school.
Da li neko ima problema na
If
poslu.
someone has problems at work.
Ovaj svijet nas pretvara u brojeve.
This world turns us into numbers.
Ali mi kao Božja djeca
But we as God's children,
smo stvoreni da vidimo ljude
we're created to see people
onako kako ih Bog vidi.
exactly as how God sees them.
Kad ispustite ovaj kamen, tada nastaju valovi.
When you let go of this rock, that's when the waves start.
Kad ga bacite u vodu, polako vi se valovi počnu praviti.
When you throw the rock into the water, that's when you see the waves that are being created.
Mali, tihi valovi.
Small, but still present waves.
Dugo nakon što mi budemo otišli.
Long after we've left.
Vidite ljude onako kako ih Bog vidi.
You need to see people the way that God sees them.
Kao jedinstvena, neponovljiva stvorenja.
As individual, irreplaceable beings.
Volite ih onako kako ih On voli.
Love them the way that He loves them.
Bezuvjetno.
Without any kind of end.
Idite za ljudima onako kako je On išao.
Go and act towards people the way that He did.
Čak i u pustinju, čak i za jednom izgubljenom ovcu.
He even left the sheep in the desert just to go see one sheep.
Možda nikada nećete vidjeti gdje vaši valovi dosežu.
Maybe you'll never actually see the consequences of these waves you make.
Ali Bog hoće.
But God will.